Okay. Hi, I'm Frank Bezzosi. I'm with TNT Fitness. I'm with Shannon McLean, who's our physical therapist. I'm with Dr. Anthony Lytle, who's our
What's up, guys?
naturopathic doctor. That's what I was looking for. So basically, we're talking today about starting a workout program. With starting a workout program, basically what we're talking about is there's a couple things you want to make sure you do it safely. You want to make sure that you're doing each exercise correctly. If not, what's going to happen is you're going to end up injuring something. You probably won't get to the result you desire. So it's really important that when you start it safely. Shannon's going to explain the importance of why you want to do proper form on an exercise. And Doc's going to kind of talk about, well, if you're someone like, 55 years old, has heart issues, and you want to make sure that there's certain things you shouldn't do, that you tailor the program to someone for us. Like I wouldn't train someone who's 25 years old the same way as I would train someone who's 60 years old. I mean, a 60-year-old is probably going to have, maybe some knee problems, low back problems. They might have hypertension. They might have, they may have had a heart attack or some type of mini stroke. So there's a lot of things, a lot of variables you got to put into it when you're starting a program. Younger, you probably don't have as much you got to worry about. There's things obviously you want to worry about, but there's not as much as if someone that's 60 years old and that's where Doc would come in as far as, let's evaluate what's going on with you and make sure we're not going to do anything that's hurt the program. And Shannon would look at the aspect of all the joints, ligaments, tendons, stuff like that to make sure that, okay, Frank, because we do that all the time. Shannon will go, Frank, don't do that with them because that's going to be bad. And Doc's the same way. So we just all work, like I said, we talked about before, we all work together. We develop the program to be safe but be effective. So Shannon, why don't you start talking about maybe how, if you're doing incorrect form of exercise, how it can be detrimental to you?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, what I like to do is try and figure out what's causing the form to be faulty, right? So it can be a few different things. A lot of times someone's just established a pattern that's not good, right? And then they have reinforced that by exercising in that way with that incorrect pattern. So what I'd like to do is go back and break down what's causing that to be the case. Is there a limited mobility in a joint or a limited flexibility in a muscle? Is there a loss of strength in a certain muscle or group of muscles that, for instance, cause the knee to collapse in during a squat, something like that, or makes the shoulder unstable because the muscles holding the shoulder blade back are not strong enough to hold the body in a stable position. So those are the first things that I look at to try and figure out the underlying cause of the movement problem. So once we've established that, then we can try and correct those piece by piece with hopefully the result of not overloading a joint or overloading a tendon. So again, like Frank mentioned, the goal is typically to work on increasing strength, increasing overall fitness cardiovascular wise, improving flexibility, with the goal of lifelong fitness of being able to get up and down from the floor, up and down from a chair, reach into a cupboard over your head, all those things. So the primary goal is maintain overall health, but then also protect the joint from injury, protect ligaments, protect the muscles from having something that's going to sideline us or create a future problem for a movement issue.
And so, yeah, that makes a lot of complete sense. And then you just want, like I said, you want to just make sure you do it safely. Doc, what things would you look at? I mean, obviously a younger person, you're going to look at as much because they're young. Yeah, but as a person that's older, what things would you evaluate before they start an exercise program?
Probably one thing that comes to mind first would be some sort of blood work. Mm-hmm. Usually for people, and like you had said, for younger people, they're going to be more resilient. Mm-hmm. Their bodies have not been on this earth all that long, so they haven't broken down or been able to be injured as much.
Been worn.
Yeah, they haven't been worn down.
Yeah.
But usually you could do basic blood work for most people to see what's underneath the hood, essentially, if there's anything going on that would need to be addressed. If people are going to be working out, they're essentially going to be breaking down their bodies. You're going to have inflammation there, especially with recovery. So are people able to process that inflammation? Is their body able to recover from workouts? Now, when you're young, that tends to be a little bit easier. When you're a little bit older, the recovery process might take a little bit longer. results might even take a little bit longer as well if it's fat loss or if
I know.
it's just joint recovery. Your ligaments don't have a whole lot of blood flow to them, tendons a little bit more so, and muscles even more. So all of these structures that require blood flow to heal, they're probably going to have even less blood flow as you get older, especially if you have underlying cardiovascular disease, or if you have blood sugar irregularities like a type 2 diabetic that would have high blood glucose more than normal. So treating any underlying etiology, pathologies that are there, getting blood work. There may be some things that you are only able to assess when you go to the gym and actually try something out, and then you figure out, okay, I'm not able to do this anymore. You might not be able to see that on blood work, but you would see that in person, when you try something out. So I think that's mainly what I could help address with on like a more strictly medical side of things, not really testing your body out like kind of what Shannon would probably do. So that's probably what I would do.
And I think one other part of this too is nutrition. I mean, nutrition is a huge thing. We're not a real big believer in diets because no fad diets don't work, guys. So if you try to do those, don't do it. You got to develop a plan that you could stay with, that's healthy, that allows you to, if you're trying to lose weight, you lose weight. Well, to build muscle, you want to make sure you need to get enough, you're eating the right types of fats, carbohydrates, and proteins, and not eating the crap. People think, well, I can work out so I can eat what I want. No. So the thing of it is if you eat like a Mexican meal, 2,000 calories per meal, you have to run anywhere from 10 to 14 miles just to burn that meal off. So you can't eat what you want when you're working out. You got to make sure that you eat a correct diet. You could work out to your blue face. Again, don't get me wrong. I think that working out, even if you're eating bad, is better than not working out and eating bad. So, but I think you want to obviously do both.
You probably feed off of that a little bit.
Yeah.
When no pun intended on the feed off. But one thing that Frank was kind of talking about with nutrition and recovery, and essentially the amount of time that it would kind of take to burn off some of those calories. But I think all of us probably do give nutritional advice. I know I've heard Frank do it. I haven't kind of sat in with Shannon, but I'm sure you are doing it. So all of us can do the nutritional advice. We can give that kind of advice and help in those sort of areas, because that will contribute to recovery time. And I think processing inflammation that comes with workouts, and especially if you're working with Shannon to heal structure and function, then recovery is a part of that. And nutrition is essentially a foundational baseline for that recovery, and everything else can add to it and is more of a cherry on top. But the nutrition, I think you can get away with more when you're younger. When you're older, I think cleaning your diet up is not really a suggestion, but more of a necessity. You really have to do it if you want to see results, because things just become slower, they become harder as you age. So I think you really have to dial yourself in. If that means drinking less alcohol, less wine, sorry ladies, a little bit less wine, to help with your waistline.
What about vodka? Vodka good? Vodka's okay, right?
For you, Frank.
Yeah, all right, good.
But there will be some things that you may have to, I guess, judge for yourself. Do I want a faster recovery? Do I want greater results? Or do I want, some guilty pleasures, I guess you could say. So I do think, diet it would be big with that.
No. So, Shannon, real quick, what do you think as far as if someone compared to someone younger compared to someone older? What do you think as far as what an older person should stay away from? There's certain things that you think that are, like heavy deadlifts or heavy. I mean, what's your thoughts on that? As far as if you're 60 years old, 56 years old like me, was a power lifter, my back hurts. There's certain things I just can't do anymore. So,
well, first and foremost. Yeah. Every person is just vastly different, right?
Sure.
Depending on your underlying level of fitness, underlying old injuries, surgeries, things like that. The movement quality, right? Like somebody who has deadlifted and squatted and bench pressed for the last 30, 40 years versus somebody who has never lifted a weight in their life, right? I would probably have a very different exercise selection just in order to establish some improved body awareness. The term motor moron has been used, right, for people who have never really exercised before.
You call me a moron?
I've never heard of that. Really? Motor moron.
It's not meant to, I mean, it shouldn't be insulting, right? It's just different
Patients
people.
don't know about it, but the practitioners say that's what that
Different
sounds like.
people have varying degrees of body awareness and body control. So if I say, you know, raise your arms like this, one person might raise their arm like this, another person might hike their shoulder up and raise their arm like that. So depending on how people can take instruction, any type of symptoms that they may have, what their underlying flexibility is, I almost hate to use age as a gauge for that, because I just feel like it's just so widely variable. I mean, these days I might have a 15-year-old kid who does zero physical activity, but now they want to take up a sport or weightlifting.
I think it's mental too, though. You're mental for sure.
For sure, yeah. But the level of fitness, you know, especially in young kids, may be absolutely nothing. They sit at a computer or watch TV and eat a poor diet, and they have very, very little fitness, versus the opposite extreme of a elite club athlete who practices 4 and 5 hours a day, which I'm not sure I love that model all the time either, because then we move into like overuse injuries, right? And surprisingly, sometimes underlying poor level of fitness, even though they're very good at their sport. So I almost think it's hard for me to categorize on an age basis versus like a general fitness, body awareness, historical participation in exercise plans, and athleticism. One thing I do notice sometimes too is people's inability to see something that's uncomfortable or a discomfort as a productive type of pain, right? So in athletes, I see most people are able to say, like, this is very uncomfortable and it hurts me to stretch or lift this heavy weight and feel this discomfort in my body, but it's productive, versus someone who doesn't have that background, learning how to experience that discomfort but not associate it as being a negative pain. Right, so that's kind of another factor I think of as we start like loading people with more weight, more difficulty, that kind of thing, is being able to process that discomfort in a way that you can determine if it's a painful injury or if it's just the discomfort of a muscle that hasn't worked that hard for the last 20 years, you know, something like that. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, for sure. I could have asked it I didn't ask the right way. So. Well, what do you think? I think it's about it, huh?
Yeah, I think we've covered that pretty well.
Yeah, I think, you know, and that's where, Doc, you got to do it. You got to do it. You're going to always be the one that says, if you like our if you like our channel, no, you do it. It's your thing.
If you do like our content, do be sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, as well as leave comments in the comments section, especially if you have feedback for us, or if you have ideas for new videos that you want us to focus on. We want to cater our content to people who watch us and who really like to interact with us. So certainly give us feedback and give us new ideas for subjects that you would want us to explore a little bit further. Be sure to watch us as we continue to put content on this channel. Check us out on Instagram, on Facebook. We're going to be creating a TikTok. We'll actually be on Rumble as well. And I think that's most of the big ones. And of course, YouTube as well, which most of these videos are going to be on YouTube. So be sure to check us out on all those different sites, and we'll see you on the next one.